Nicholas Bach is a composer, conductor, arranger, violinist and also a pianist. Over the past few years, the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra has brought to life some of the wonderful movies of our time. From Disney's Pixar to Star Trek, there's been E.T., Harry Potter, Back to the Future, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and now Star Wars, The Force Awakens, live in concert. Conductor Nicholas Bach joins me online now to have a chat about that. Nicholas, nice to have you on the program today.
Nice to be here, and great to be talking about this great film and, of course, great score as well.
Absolutely. What a job you have. One of the best jobs around, I reckon.
I think you said it right there. What a way for a sci-fi fan to grow up and start conducting the music for their favourite films.
You're dropping out a little bit there, Nicholas.
Sorry, say again?
You were dropping out. I've got you back now.
Okay. I said...
you were a sci-fi fan.
I'm a sci-fi fan, yeah. What a fantastic thing to basically have a sci-fi fan grow up and get to conduct live film scores with professional orchestras. It's an absolute dream come true and a fantastic job.
Tell me how it all came about, because it was about 3 years ago that started, wasn't it?
Look, probably a bit longer than that.
Was it?
I've been doing this probably for, I'd say 5 to 8 years, roughly.
Is it that long now? Gee.
And what's happened in that time is that the whole live film concert genre, shall we say, has really taken off. And there's been a whole heap, not just in Australia, but around the world, a whole heap of these concerts, everything from, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Harry Potter, Psycho, some of the animation films like Pixar, all the Pixar films, and now Star Wars being presented live in concert. And it's so good because it really is a great way to bring in new fans, new audiences that wouldn't typically go to see your local symphony orchestra. And they get to present music and films that they know.
Yes.
And in just a completely different format.
Now, how do you go about doing this as a conductor?
Well, I guess from my perspective, it's watching the film dozens and dozens of times.
Yeah.
Getting to know the tempos, the mood, and the music, pretty intimately. And I have a little help from a little tiny screen that sits in front of my conductor's podium, which is a different cut of the film that the audience sees.
Right.
And that helps me basically synchronize the music with the film, which in this case is kind of the trickiest part of the job. The music has its own challenges, but actually staying in sync with the film is actually the biggest one. So that, when the explosions go off, when there's a kiss, we're right at the exact point to line those things up and create movie magic.
Your concentration must be 100%.
It goes off the charts because you sort of you have your own music, you have the little screen and the film to be aware of, plus all the musicians around you. So. Yeah, the adrenaline goes through the roof.
So we've got the movie playing. We've got you backing that movie. Have they taken off the soundtrack then, the orchestration, have they?
They've taken off the score, yeah, but they leave the dialogue and sound effects. And we have a live sound mixer who has to mix the live orchestra in with the existing sound effects and dialogue. And that's, presents its own challenges, balance-wise. So there's a lot of stuff going on all at once.
How clever is all of that, though?
That's great. And I always find when I talk to audience members that they're always sort of diverting their attention between the screen and the orchestra and back and forth. And sometimes they get really absorbed in the film and almost forget the music is there being played live. And other times they forget about the film and they're fascinated to see what the horns are doing or what the strings are doing at any given time. Because
what we're witnessing, of course, is what you would normally see in a film studio. We've got the orchestra there who are doing the backing for everything, and we're seeing you guys do this live.
Yeah. The only difference is that they would do it over the course of maybe 2 weeks.
Would they?
They'd only record sort of 10 to 15 minutes per day.
Right.
So they get to do each little bit of music many times and get it absolutely perfect. And the challenge for us is to do it all in one go. So there's a lot of stamina required from the orchestra, especially people like the brass, and something like a Star Wars score. The brass is essential. It leads it, and really it's a big blow for those guys.
Well, that main theme, the Star Wars march, it's just fantastic, isn't it? And that is very gutsy.
Oh, yeah. And it's right at the top of their register, and it's so famous that it's sort of every trumpet player's dream, I think, to sort of, open the concert with a big blast, like that film score has.
And they've been able to do that. What happens when the credits come up? Do you keep playing right through the credits as well as the movie would?
Absolutely, yes. And the thing we always like to encourage audiences to do is, unlike normal, is to actually stay for the credits and actually just hear the orchestra play all that fantastic music, almost like a sort of exit suite, and here are the main themes from the films presented, and they can really appreciate the orchestra, and then give them hopefully a big round of applause at the end.
At the end, yeah. Nicholas, I like to do that with any movie. I like to wait till the very, very end and hear that orchestra playing and the soundtrack. It's just brilliant. It's part of the movie, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm the same. I always love to stay around and not only watch, see who was involved, but listen to the music and just sort of feel it wash over you and have a think about what's gone before you in terms of the story and just sit and relax and enjoy it.
Well, these wonderful concerts you've been doing for so long now, they're always a sellout. They sell so fast. And with this one, you're heading down to the Palais, I notice, on December the 8th, 9th and 10th. And that'll be another fantastic program with you. How did you go about studying music and so on as a youngster? You've played violin and piano. When did that all start for you?
Look, I started violin at the age of 4, I think piano at the age of 7, and got really interested in composition and especially film music.
Right.
And writing music for films. And after I did an undergraduate at the University of Melbourne, just recently I went and did a master's in film scoring in New York, at New York University.
Is that where you got the Elmer Bernstein Award?
Yeah, and I live there now, and it's been a really great sort of change of career, change of lifestyle, and both the conducting and the composing go really hand in hand, especially in the area of film music. Yeah, and it's always been a passion of mine. And I think the dream eventually is to move to Hollywood and write my own film scores. Would be a really great thing.
Oh, I hope you do that too. It'll be
Star Wars 20.
Yes, there you are. Well, who knows? Who knows what's around?
Years or something.
Who knows what's around the corner for you? You've worked with some great artists over the years. You've been very, very involved with Tina Arena. Name one of those. I know you've worked with her 6 Australian tours. You do a lot of arranging too for these guests, don't you?
Yeah. Tina was actually one of my I guess would say inverted commas, big breaks. And when I got involved with her and her tour, it was fantastic because I got to write all these orchestral arrangements to so many of her classic songs. And we did, like you said, a whole lot of Australian tours, and things sort of snowballed from then, and was a great sort of foothold in the industry. And worked on lots of different shows and artists, and it's a great compliment to the conducting, because the conducting for me gives my sort of performance output, but composing and arranging, they're kind of lonely professions in some ways. You're alone at home in the studio by yourself. So the mix of those two kind of sides of being a musician, I find really a good balance. I
was reading a quote from Tina Arena just the other day, and it said, "I'm a huge fan of this musician and the man himself." What a compliment that is.
Yeah, well, she's a great gal, Tina, and she's been very good to me, and that's a very nice thing of her to say.
Let me go back to when you started the violin at the age of 4. Was it something you had wanted to do, or did your parents encourage you to do that?
I think when I talked to my mother, she always said I wanted to be a conductor.
Really? Oh, well, there you are.
I have no recollection of that. And somehow, I think a conductor or a cellist. Yeah. And the cello was deemed too big, so the violin was sort of the younger brother of that. And I was terrible at it. I think it took 6 months to a year before I could make any kind of decent sound. But once it arrived, I think I found I had quite a passion, and then threw the piano into the mix a few years later, and played violin all my life, and it became something I loved. And then the conducting really just came about sort of in the last 10 years or so, almost as a side project. I think I might have written a piece of music and had no one to conduct it, so I sort of thought, maybe I'll do it. And from there it really just blossomed and has become a great area of my musical life.
Well, that dream of as a youngster at the age of 4 or 5, saying I want to conduct, and bang, 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 as Mum was saying, it came true, and where are you today? There you are. It's
life comes full circle.
Absolutely. Now, how hard is it rehearsing with your orchestra? With something like this?
Yeah, it depends on the composer. For this particular film, and a lot of the great scores written by John Williams, he's really, first of all, he writes incredibly difficult music.
Does he?
He writes very catchy music and some great melodies, but a lot of his orchestrations are really complicated, very complex, and he's so fabulous at using all the elements of the orchestra.
Right.
You know, everyone from the harp to the tuba to the piccolo, everyone really gets their moment to shine. So we don't have a lot of time to rehearse these projects, and a lot of the time for the musicians, it's brand new music. You know, they might have played the main theme from Star Wars, but they certainly haven't played the entire score, you know, all 2 hours of it. So to rehearse that stuff so tightly and get it so perfect with the picture in a short amount of time is actually is quite taxing and quite difficult. So it's a stressful couple of days, but once we get to showtime, it's well worth the reward.
And we're talking about
right into it.
We're talking about Star Wars here, but of course you're in the middle of Harry Potter as well, and you're in Western Australia with Harry Potter. You're coming back to Melbourne at the plenary on the 17th and 18th with Harry Potter. How do you separate yourself from all of these things?
Well, they kind of, I guess you learn them so well that they just become like, a favourite book or film you've seen over and over that you sort of, I don't like to do too many different film projects at once because I find the brain can sometimes get them a bit muddled up. But having a few in there, I can cram at least, I reckon, 3 or 4 films into the brain at once and be able to switch gears between them. It's like you said, it's just a high level of focus required.
Now, with the MSO, you use the same instrumentalist each time? Same members?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, look, there might be slight changes of personnel, but more or less, yeah, it's more or less the same orchestra, and quite a large number, sort of 70 or 80 of them. It's a big size for these film projects.
And I suppose that's important, Nicholas, isn't it? Because they get to know you get to know them and their weaknesses, whatever it happens to be, and you can just blend. Yeah,
and look, people always find it interesting with conductors that travel around to different orchestras. They always ask how do orchestras differ from city to city and even from country to country? And the answer is there's many similarities, but there's many differences. And even within Australia, I find all the orchestras fantastic, but they have their own style is probably the best way, and how they react to your particular conducting style as well. I find endlessly fascinating, and it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. You know, what I might do with, say, the orchestra here in Perth, I might get a certain sound when I go to Melbourne. Sometimes I have to sort of mix things up or sort of massage it a bit to based on how they play.
A bit of fine-tuning got to be done.
Just a little fine-tuning, yeah. It's sort of hard to describe, but it's certainly there, and it makes it enjoyable and different.
Nicholas, after the Melbourne stint here on the 8th, 9th and 10th at the Palais, you're back to New York or back to the States then?
I am, yeah. I'm going to Milwaukee, the freezing cold Milwaukee, to do some more Harry Potter, and then it'll be Christmas, so hopefully I'll have a little holiday.
Milwaukee, I think it was snowing there this morning, -1.
Oh, God, thank you. Well, I think I was there this time last year, and it was
snowing.
The whole river down the length of the city was covered in ice.
Yeah. I've got someone over there at the moment, and I'm sure it was snowing there this morning at 5 a.m. their time.
Oh, wow. Okay, there you go.
So there you go. Nicholas,
I'll leave the shorts at home.
Please do. It's been a great insight to what you do. Thank you very, very much for your valuable time today. I know it's precious to you, but it's been a great insight. Get my listeners to come along and see you, either with Harry Potter, of course, or Star Wars, The Force Awakens, December the 8th, 9th and 10th at the Palais, a great venue down there with the MSO. Nicholas Bark, thank you very much. Have a great week and a happy Christmas to you too.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Take care, pal. Okay, bye-bye to you.
Bye.